Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon right across from me. It's Tuesday, August 6th. How you doing, Rick?
You know, I'm just doing peachy. I'm still haven't recovered from my amazing trip in South Carolina from 2 weeks ago. He says
peachy.
Dude, you guys, it goes to the south once.
Yeah, peachy. Oh, I came from South Carolina. I'm just peachy.
Well, I came from the crops in South Carolina and, just doing peachy. Got some Chick-fil-A.
Snap. Today, we bring you our breakout and bust players for 2019. We're going to start off with the breakout players. But first, be sure I just saw news on my phone and my brain is not processing
your eyes lit up. Does it have anything to do with football?
It really does. It does. And I'm going to talk about it in a second, but I can't hold it in.
Breaking news.
So apparently Ezekiel, somebody from FS1, close to I know.
We gotta
close to Ezekiel Elliott, who we'll talk about in a second. Close to Ezekiel Elliott, said that it is very, very possible that he could miss some games. This is coming from Zeke's agent.
Zeke's agent?
Yes.
Oh boy.
Welcome to the show.
You guys liked drafting Le'Veon Bell last year?
Yeah, GG did that. Before we get into the news segment, which we'll talk about Zeke in a second, be sure to check out our brand new website, thefantasychampions.com. You can find articles, videos, podcasts, all kinds of content to help you win your fantasy league for 2019. So be sure to go over there and check that out. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter at the FF Champs, Instagram at the Fantasy Champions. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions. Subscribe wherever you listen. Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube. Click the bell for notifications. Leave a review. Share this podcast with your friends as if I haven't done it 40 times. Let's get into the news. Like we were just talking about, Ezekiel Elliott and his, I was going to say suspension. My goodness.
Throw it back.
Every time I talk about Ezekiel Elliott, I say suspension for some reason.
I know why. I know the reason.
Why?
You're haunted.
I am haunted. I drafted him that year, and he served a 6-game suspension. Jerry Jones. So we'll just backtrack from that breaking news. Jerry Jones was a couple days ago confident that they could reach an agreement. About an hour later, there's a report that said that it could be months before he comes back. Elliott's reps apparently told ownership that he will not play a game until he gets a contract, and the reporters consistently believe at this point that he is going to play week 1. I just got this news. I'm going to find out who said it because...
Watch, it's Nick Wright.
Eric Dickerson.
Oh.
He said, I talked to Zeke's agent yesterday, and he said it's possible, it really is possible he will miss some games. He wants to play, but this is business. Zeke's the best player on that football team, and if he misses 4 weeks, I guarantee you they'll probably win 1 game, unquote. So that sounds like a very, very confident. He said it on FS1. Very, very confident report from Eric Dickerson. If Zeke misses time, my goodness, I don't know. It hurts my soul because I'm going 2 in my draft and I had to move him down to 4 today.
You are,
and I might even have to move him down even further on my running back rankings.
Do I even want to take him in the first round?
Yeah, that's a great question. Please keep your eye out, people, for Ezekiel Elliott stuff. You do not want to end up in the Le'Veon Bell situation. I think, so in the past, players haven't held out full seasons. They've held out 1, 2, maybe 3 games. And Le'Veon Bell's situation was a little bit of an anomaly. So don't believe that Melvin Gordon and Ezekiel Elliott are going to go out here and miss a whole season, because if that happens, that would be crazy. Like, that doesn't happen normally. They'll probably,
that was very rare.
At best, Melvin Gordon will miss like 4 games, or at worst, he'll miss 4 games, and at worst, Zeke will probably miss 3. So those guys are going to be good. Don't overly fade them, but like, take into account that you might be missing them for 2 or 3 weeks. Speaking on Thursday, Falcons GM Thomas Dimitroff said that the team is willing to make Julio Jones the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. And then after that, it'll be Amari Cooper.
Yep.
Pooper Cup.
It's time for the receivers to get paid.
Yep. 100%. Julio Jones has been negotiating with the team. It's only a matter of time. He's not holding out, by the way. You can draft Julio Jones. Empty conscience.
Oh, really? I was going to pass on. Thanks for letting me know.
ESPN's Nick Wagner said Matt Breida has been used all over the place at 49ers.
Cordell Patterson?
No, Matt Breida.
I know.
I thought I said... I thought I said Cordell Patterson, and I was like, oh, crap. You can't say stuff like that. It'll mess me up.
I try, man.
So when they say all over the place, that could mean an assortment of things. It could mean that he's used at wide receiver. He's used at running back. All right, why not? He's used at tight end.
Oh, wow.
They put him as
crushed.
They put him at the long snapper.
Special teamer, I'm telling you.
Or it could mean that they use him. They've used him a lot in just first and second team reps. So keep an eye on Matt Breida. He's been a guy that I've been drafting in the 14th round. Lamar Jackson doesn't see himself running as often as in 2019. This is the reason why Lamar Jackson is not on my breakouts list. This is the reason why Lamar Jackson has been slowly fading out of my draft picture, because he's not going to pass for a lot of yardage, and he's not going to throw a lot of touchdowns.
Probably not.
So if he doesn't do those two things, I don't care how many. I mean, if he gets 1,200 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns, my God, I'll take him.
He
but
might.
I don't think he's going to do that.
He might, dude.
He's like,
After
I'll take the
last
risk.
year. I mean,
he might take.
I'm
the
not
risk.
saying he's going to, but the possibility of him doing that would make me take him in the 13th.
1,200 yards and like 10
I know, it's
touchdowns
crazy.
would be absolutely.
I know
absurd.
it's insane.
It would be absurd,
dude. After watching what he did last year, I think it's possible.
Wow. Well, I'm not gonna jump on that train yet. Josh Gordon has applied for reinstatement. We hope everything is well with Josh Gordon, knowing addiction and how it ravages people's lives. I hope Josh Gordon can get past it and get back to football because he really wants to play. He's close with the commissioner, so he'll probably be reinstated. In terms of fantasy football, I'm staying very far away from Josh Gordon just because, I mean, if there's an opportunity to get him on the team and you can use him and try to sell him, then that's the only thing I would do. But as far as Josh Gordon is concerned, like, he's a tough guy because if you get him and then he plays really well and you're relying on him for your fantasy team and then all of a sudden he gets suspended, then you're kind of, bum out of luck and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with that spot. So it's better off just to not buy the guy that's going to be a problem and stay away from Josh Gordon. But if you can get him on your team, he has a couple good games, you can sell him to some unsuspecting fantasy team. That might be a good idea.
Are you trying to say?
I'm going to try to sell him to you, yes.
I was going to say, are you trying to take advantage of people more? Is that what you're trying to do?
Of course.
Hi.
In fantasy football only.
I'm Ricky, and this is Morgan, and we're telling you to take advantage of your friends in fantasy football.
Always. There has been legitimate times where I've had moral conflict playing fantasy football because I know some people are just not as up to date.
Maybe, people are busy with their personal lives
So
their jobs. Unlike you.
There was a deal. I had Le'Veon Bell, and I knew I got a report, and I was like, dude, no, I can't. I'm like, I knew that there was a possibility. Yeah, he's probably not going to play, and so I sat there, and I was like, they don't have the notification. Just send the trade and do it. I didn't.
The angel on one shoulder.
Yeah,
and the devil
it was
on
like,
the other.
don't do it, bro. That's evil. And the other guy was like, frick it.
I mean, shoot, are you trying to win?
Fantasy football.
You trying to win?
Fantasy football cutthroat. You trying to win? And the guy was like, stop talking about it like that. I was like, bro. I didn't do it. I listened to the good part of me.
Boo.
Did you know how mad people would get if I did that?
Oh, I know. If you did that, we probably would have. Everybody else in the league.
Don't tell me you haven't thought about it.
I mean, I've thought about a lot of things in life. To say I've thought about it, to say I haven't, I won't comment on.
David Lombardi of The Athletic said Trent Taylor has been taking Trent Taylor has taken his receiving presence to a new level at 49ers camp. If any of you don't know, Trent Taylor is a slot receiver, and the 49ers hired wide receiver coach Wes Weckler. This is one strange show.
Yeah, who's Wes Weckler?
Who's Wes Weckler? Wes Welker.
Oh, I know that guy.
Yeah. So Trent Taylor has been working with Wes Welker. Trent Taylor is going to be their slot receiver. There is a lot of inside sources saying that Trent Taylor might be the most targeted receiver on the 49ers.
Well, if you think about it, Garoppolo
is coming from the Patriots system, and he likes to use.
He does like to use slot receivers.
Pardon my race analogy, but white wide receivers in the slots. Very Patriots of you.
It is, yeah.
So keep an eye on Trent Taylor. I put him on my rankings in the top 100. We'll see what happens. He's literally 100 right now. So if things keep happening,
an elite fantasy wide receiver right there.
Elite. But keep an eye on Trent Taylor. Broncos signed running back Theo Riddick, formerly of the Lions. This is a major indictment on our mans, Philip Lindsay, and my boy, Rolls-Royce Freeman.
The guy you've been saying for about a full year now that will break out and become.
Why does he keep doing this to me? I don't get it. Maybe I should just stay away from Royce Freeman.
Should you get off the train?
He's gonna literally be on every single one of my fantasy teams this year, regardless.
Yeah, you're like it's like one of those bad relationships where you break up with somebody, but you just go right back. That's you and Royce Freeman.
You know what? I traded you, Royce, but I'm sorry. I'm coming back. I need you.
I might have cut you 6 times this year.
I might have cut you 6 times.
But you're sitting on the waiver wire and you're playing a bad team.
Theoretic will probably play the pass catching role for the Broncos and maybe get some third down work. According to Scott Bordeaux of The Athletic, it's clear that Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk, and 6th-round rookie Keyshawn Johnson are the Cardinals' top 3 receivers. It is also reported that they are unhappy with the growth of Andy Isabella, their 2nd-round pick, and 4th-round pick Hakeem Butler. They also have Kevin White at wide receiver. Because they run a 3 or 4 wide receiver set, it's very likely that the 3rd wide receiver in that offense is going to get a lot of work. So keep an eye on the 3rd wide receiver. Keep an eye on Keyshawn Johnson and Kevin White, who are projected to get that spot, because one of them might actually be decent for a couple fantasy weeks this year. I'm not telling you to go buy Keyshawn Johnson, but hey.
Buy Keyshawn Johnson.
Stop. So many people are going to take that seriously and buy Keyshawn Johnson now. You're ruining people's fantasy teams, bro. How do you feel?
Keyshawn Johnson. Wait, I'm ruining people's fantasy teams?
Yeah, because now I'm going to go buy Keyshawn Johnson for my fantasy team.
Wait, so does that mean I have a better chance of winning now?
Yeah.
Buy Keyshawn Johnson.
Texans waived running back Donta Foreman. And the Colts later picked him up. I don't think this has anything to do with Marlon Mack. It should be okay. But just keep a close eye on that, because
might want to keep a slight eye on that. He'll probably get cut, to be honest.
Poor Donta Foreman. Jordan Howard has improved in the passing game. The interesting thing for the Eagles' backfield that we've kind of talked about quite a bit is the fact, like, I've seen 3 reports for Jordan Howard and how he's the number 1 back and how he's going to come out and be that number 1 guy and break out and be a top-level player and all this stuff, right? And then they talk about Miles Sanders and say that he's the best running back in camp. The coaching staff is saying the good things about Jordan Howard. The media is saying the good things about Miles Sanders. This is a cluster of a backfield, and I'm kind of staying away from the Eagles.
Me too. Although
he's like, me too.
I feel like in every single draft we've done,
we've ended up with Miles Sanders at some point.
Because those 2 guys are like gonna be on the board
neck and neck
because nobody wants to pick them.
But do you want like 7th round Miles Sanders, or do you want 12th round Jordan Howard?
Aren't they going back to back right now?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna look it up.
At least I didn't think so.
I know in our mock draft they were.
This is
going
for
back to back, but that was like a week ago. So
this is for all the fantasy people worried about this report. The Athletics' Mark Cobley reports that Jalen Samuels has been a significant part of the offense for the Steelers so far. If you read the rest of the report, it talks about how they're utilizing him in the passing game and how they're utilizing him in split back situations. So he's basically going to play a similar role to Tariq Cohen, and he's not going to take anything away from James Conner. Simple as that. So I would not be worried about James Conner's value because of this report. It does, however, bump up Jalen Samuel's value a little bit as a player.
Going undrafted to keep an eye on him late in drafts.
He went from "you suck" to maybe we'll draft you this time.
Well, that's one way of putting it. By the way, quickly to go back to it, Miles Sanders and according to the fantasy calculator, half PPR, Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard are both being drafted in the 9th round.
Wow. All right, I was wrong. Both are. I mean, take a shot in the dark, and maybe there's nothing in the 9th round anyway. Yeah.
The 7th and 10th round, like between those rounds, are just a dark pit.
After a year and a half of pain and torture, the 49ers activated Jerick McKinnon from the active/PUP list, so he is now practicing for real.
Round of applause.
How long is it before Jerick McKinnon gets hurt again?
Don't put me on the spot like that.
Over under a week.
Dude, that's so under.
He says under. That'll do it for the news. Let's move into our main segment, Breakouts and Busts, Part 1. We are going to start off with our breakout players and then go to our busts on Thursday. So let's get into our breakouts. Number 1 on our list is our man's Kerryon Johnson.
Love Kerryon.
Kerryon Johnson came into the year last year as I think he was drafted. I can't remember what year.
Round?
He was a second-round pick, but what year was he drafted? I think he was a rookie.
Last year. Yeah, last year.
It was his rookie season. So he came into last year, and he wasn't utilized as much, early in the season. The first couple weeks he had about 13, 14 touches, but they started to see a little bit of, talent in this guy, and they wanted to utilize him to the point where, he got hurt in week 5, but in week 7... In week 8, he had 19, 15. Week 9, he had 7. Week 10 and 11, he had 24 and 17. So when they figured out they could use him and how to utilize him, he ended up turning out to be a really good running back. The reason why he is on our breakouts list is because, A, they got rid of Theoretic, and B, they got rid of LeGarrette Blount. So those two guys were stealing a lot. It was like Theoretic was stealing his passing numbers, and LeGarrette Blount was stealing his rushing numbers, and so he was basically getting crap for snaps. So not having those two guys there really does help Kerryon Johnson get more of a role. He's probably going to get way more targets than rushing attempts because C.J. Anderson is there, but if the guy consistently gets between 18 and 20 touches a game, you're going to see him put up 15 to 20 fantasy points. That's just what he's going to do. I think that the only concern for me is just red zone or snap percentage, because when they get in the red zone, it's literally just going to be, unless they're going to pass it, it's going to be C.J. Anderson getting the ball. And so I think you could see a disparity in total touchdowns for him last year. Over the course of 10 games, he had 4 touchdowns. But I think if he can increase that, get 8, 9 rushing touchdowns, and then maybe 2 passing, or receiving, I should say, touchdowns, I think that'll be good. But he needs to get upwards of 60 to 65 receptions and 1,200, I would say 1,400 yards. But I think he can break out and be an RB1.
I agree, because I think the big thing with Kerryon Johnson this year is I think he can be the workhorse guy on a team that values him as that, which is kind of starting to become rare in this league now. A lot of teams are either just awful or don't know how to use the running back, wants to use 2 running backs. Mm-hmm. I think there's a good chance C.J. Anderson won't be used a lot this year, other than goal line situations.
Yeah.
But if the Lions use Kerryon the right way, he can be a top 10 back in fantasy pretty easily.
Pretty easily, yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I think because with the cut of Theo Reddick, I think that'll be huge for passing game wise. Because on offense, who's the guy?
Yeah.
On the Lions right now. Who's the best? Like, if you're a defensive coordinator, who are you shutting down?
I don't know.
It's Kerryon Johnson.
Yeah, Kerryon Johnson, definitely.
He's going to be the.
I'm trying to find another guy besides Kerryon. It's not Marvin Jones.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's not
but
good.
I don't think the team is bad. And if you believe in Matt Stafford like I do, I think he'll get. I mean, Matt Stafford also has a history of using running backs in the passing game too.
Right.
So I think the Lions' offense will be decent this year, but it'll be focused around Kerryon Johnson,
right,
which I think will be huge for him.
Right.
And he's very talented, and he can make that work.
Right, 100%. I think like last year he had 5 yards a carry. That's true yard.
Ridiculous.
It's 5.4 yards per carry, but he had 5 yards per carry. Like that's his true carry rate according to the fantasy football fantasy foot. Wow. This is like for some reason extremely hard to say for me. The fantasy football player profiler.
Hey.
So the only other issue with Kerryon Johnson, and he ranked number 19th in this, but he's not bad, is he was a little bit game script dependent, and that's because he was relied a lot upon in the passing game. So I think, like you said, there's like, unless they really do make a really dumb decision and give the ball a crap ton to CJ Anderson like they did LeGarrette Blount last year, then you're going to have that situation. That honestly, to be honest with you, bro, that could have been because of, what's his name? Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia's a defensive guy, and he got into that play call room. He's like, LeGarrette's a great player. We need to utilize him a lot.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and then they gave him the ball like overly, and he was like, "No, trust me, he's gonna."
I've seen it firsthand.
Let's go, playoffs, 2015. But they did fire their offensive coordinator after last season and hired Darrell Bevell, who was the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks during the Legion of Boom years,
which is another plus for Kerryon Johnson. Because what did they do?
Ran the ball with Marshawn Lynch. So I think Kerryon is definitely, for me, he's like one of my number one breakouts because I think he's going to be a great player. And I think he'll definitely finish in the top 10 this year.
He was number one on my list for breakouts.
Definitely. And at a third round, fourth round value, he's,
he is moving up though, like crazy.
Right. If he ends up in the second round, I'm a little bit more.
I don't know if I'm taking him. It becomes
a lot.
Do you take him over
riskier.
Guys like Chubb or Dalvin Cook?
No, definitely not. But he's got all the potential in the world. He's been in this offense and he's been in the NFL for, a full season. So we'll definitely see in terms of, what happens over the course of 2019 if Kerryon Johnson can become that. But I think he's going to be a breakout in 2019. Number 2 on our list, Marlon Mack. We talked about Mack a few times on this program.
Yeah.
And the thing I don't like, I'll start out with what I don't like about Marlon Mack. I don't like the fact that Naeem Hines exists in that offense at all.
I thought you were just going to stop at exists.
I thought about it, and then I was like, that's cold.
That's very cold.
So I think for Marlon Mack, it's a matter of he's going to get a lot of carries. He might hit 275 total carries next year, which is crazy for a running back. It's not super crazy, but there's only a few guys in this league that reach that, like Ezekiel Elliott and Saquon Barkley.
Right.
And so if Marlon Mack can reach that point, which I think he will, he paced out last year at 260, 1,200 yards, and 12 touchdowns. So if he played his full season last year, he would have paced out 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns. Adding the passing game, giving him some passing numbers, like if he was just to get 45 to 50 catches, he would definitely be an RB1 and a breakout candidate this year. And I think he will do that. But they just need to go away from, Naeem Hines and go towards Marlon Mack, which I'm not sure he can do. I mean, I don't. This is
You're very hesitant.
I'm very hesitant because I told you this like earlier. Jordan Howard was somebody that I drafted. And I've talked about this many times on the podcast.
Wait, you drafted
third
Jordan Howard
round
last year?
over Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, that happened.
Yeah, that happens. And Marlon Mack is in the third round with guys like Aaron Jones and Leonard Fournette, right? In some situations, Dalvin Cook, but that's neither here nor there. So third round running backs, though, Marlon Mack, Leonard Fournette, Aaron Jones. I would rather go with Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette, because I think they will have maybe not as many rushing yards as Marlon Mack, but they'll have the pass catching ability and the ability to succeed in a half PPR and a full PPR setting. And Marlon Mack, a guy who doesn't in college, he had a college target share of 10.9%, which is a 78th percentile. So he's a good pass catcher. He's good in the open field. He can do that. It's just a matter of, are they going to continue to go to Nyheim Hines, or was that just a benefit of Marlon Mack missing games last year? He averaged about 2.5, I believe it was 2.2 targets a game, which is not very good.
Yeah.
That finishes out the season at like 35 targets. And so if he can get into the 40 to 50 catch range, I think he'll be all right.
He has the talent to do it.
Right.
And I was telling you this before, but like, to me, one thing that you should keep in mind with Marlon Mack is he is very successful when the team dominates. He's kind of one of those guys that really, I mean, a lot of players benefit off this, but he especially benefits off when they dominate other teams, kind of the trash time points.
Right.
So it would be interesting to see what the Colts' strength of schedule is this year, and kind of dive into that and being like, okay, well, if they don't have a tough schedule, which typically they don't because they play in the AFC South,
right?
That helps Marlon Mack because they are, and if you like many other people believe the Colts are going to be an elite team this year, I also believe that. Then you should definitely draft Marlon Mack because they're going to dominate teams. And when they do, they're going to be running the ball a lot. And Marlon Mack will benefit greatly off that. Because even if he isn't involved so much in the passing game, he'll still be able to put up decent numbers, I think, just off that.
Right. Yeah, I agree 100%. Marlon Mack, one of our breakout candidates for 2019. Number 3 on our list, Dante Pettis. Now, I didn't put DJ Moore on this list for a very particular...
Or Tyler Boyd.
For a very particular reason. Tyler Boyd is the number 2 wide receiver for the Bengals. So I think his best finish is RB1. Wide receiver 1. I don't think... his best finish is wide receiver 2. I think he can get to wide receiver 1, but that's only if AJ Green misses significant time. So he's the second wide receiver on the depth chart for the Bengals. DJ Moore is in an offense where they haven't had a wide receiver 1 since, I don't know, Steve Smith.
Yeah.
Is that right?
A long time ago.
And so the Carolina Panthers just don't have that. I think the reason why they don't really have wide receiver 1s every season is simply because Cam Newton throws at 3,500 yards a season and 25 touchdowns. That's not enough to spread around for a high-end wide receiver. So for me, I think Dante Pettis has the potential to be a wide receiver 1 this year because he's the number 1 wide receiver in that offense, and they have Jimmy Garoppolo, who's a pass-first quarterback. He doesn't run it, right? He throws the football a lot. He has, he's statted out at this 4,000 yards, 4,500 yards, 30-plus touchdown pace before. And so I think if you get that from Jimmy G, Dante Pettis is almost a lock to me to be a wide receiver 1. And I think he's not going to finish as a top 5 wide receiver by any means, but I think he could finish as an 8 or 9 and break out this year for a guy that's going, in the 8th, 9th round, 7th, 8th, 9th round this year.
Yeah.
To grab him then and have him be a top 10 wide receiver would be absolutely awesome for your fantasy team. So that's why I have Dante Pettis on our breakout list. He had games last year where he was really good. He was a second-round pick. Everything points in the right direction for Pettis.
Yeah, for me, kind of echoing off what you said, he's got the talent. He's going to be the number 1 wide receiver, which if you believe in Garoppolo, which we do, especially me.
Jimmy G MVP.
You know how I feel about Jimmy G.
Of course. Oh, God. Nasty, bro.
Hey, man. I love Jimmy G.
Whatever works, boss.
You know I love Jimmy G.
Dude, I love Jimmy G. Too.
I don't know if I love him as much. No, you know what? I do. I love him as much as Mahomes, which is saying a lot. I know your eyes are wide right now. I might love him more than Mahomes. I've never seen him play a full season, so it's tough. It's tough. But either way, if Garoppolo can be a top 10 quarterback in the league, which I think we both agree he can.
Yeah.
And Dante Pettis is the number one receiver on the team.
Agreed.
Which it looks like he's going to be.
Agreed.
Those two things align.
Sky's the limit.
It really is. He can easily break out this year and be a sleeper on many teams. He's going in like the 7th, 8th round.
Yep.
I mean, if you can get him and he's like a top 12-ish fantasy wide receiver.
100.
Which I think he will be. Mm-hmm. If Garoppolo has the season that I think he's capable of having, and most people agree with me on that, especially a lot of like experts and people who watch Jimmy Garoppolo, right. As long as the guy can just stay healthy, which I know is a big if, but if it happens,
if Jimmy G can stay healthy,
Dante Pettis
will be a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the sentiment. Like you could, if you wanted to encapsulate this entire discussion in one sentence.
I mean, who?
If Jimmy Garoppolo stays healthy, Dante Pettis is a wide receiver 1.
It's pretty simple.
I mean, the things he did with Nick Mullins, you know
right?
What I mean?
Well, that's the thing. And who on the team do you think is capable of taking the number 1 spot away from Dante Pettis at receiver?
No one. The only thing that I do think that he might end up being the second target on the team because of George Kittle.
Right.
But I don't think that affects him at all.
But he'd still be the number 1 receiving option, which
yep.
Still pretty good if you have Garoppolo playing at his peak.
Right. Number 4, we have Joshua Allen.
Oh, I love him. Might go on a rant.
He just warns everyone. He's like, oh, Josh Allen, I might go on a rant.
The theme for the guys I love.
Josh Allen. Quarterbacks who can run the football.
Just quarterbacks.
Josh Allen is the Buffalo Bills quarterback, in case you're new to fantasy or new to anything. He last year had, I think he had 3 or 4 25-point games and then a 40-point game to end the season.
Most of that came at the end of the year.
Yes, most of it came at the end of the year. He has the potential to be a quarterback that can throw for around 4,000 yards and 25 to 30 touchdowns, as well as rush for 800 yards and run for like 5 or 6 touchdowns. If he does all that, Josh Allen is a quarterback 1. He's probably in the top 6 or 7 among quarterbacks, maybe even higher. And I think that he can do that this year. I think that they believe in him. They're building, like you said, they're building their offense around the Bills. They're building their offense around the Bills.
I was talking to you about that earlier.
They were building their offense around Josh Allen, and they added, John Brown, Cole Beasley. They added some of these really good players, and I think that it's not Antonio Brown that you're adding, but it's better than Zay Jones and Robert Foster. You know what I mean? So
and they're clearly building around him and not the running game either.
Right.
They
brought in Singletary, but that's about it. And TJ Yeldon, but
TJ Yeldon, whoa,
he might not make the team. So
it's clear that they want him to just huck the ball a lot this year. He's going to make mistakes. That's fine. He's going to run a lot in the pocket. And it's very reasonable. Josh Allen has a great arm. He's not always the most accurate. He's very inconsistent with that. But just overall, first-round arm talent. Famous quote. But it is true with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
He's capable of throwing for 4,000 yards and 25 touchdowns.
100%.
And if he can do that, plus his running, it's like Cam Newton.
Right.
And he can easily be a top 5 fantasy quarterback with that numbers.
Right.
And he doesn't even have to be real NFL wise. He could be
trash.
I think he's probably going to be like Jameis Winston, where nobody in the world considers Jameis Winston a top 10 quarterback.
Agreed.
But yet people are talking about him being a
top 5 and
top 5, top 6 fantasy quarterback.
Yeah.
I think that's Josh Allen written all over him. I love the guy. I think, and especially the best part about him is where he's going. It's 13th round right now.
Yeah.
So if you draft him in the 13th round, and
what are you losing going after
you
Josh
cut him?
Allen? You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. But if he can pan out and reach his ceiling, you got the steal of the draft in the 13th round.
Yeah, definitely. It becomes the Patrick Mahomes-esque move that people made last year when they drafted Mahomes 9th, 10th, 11th round. And I think, he doesn't have nearly as good of a team or an offense as the Chiefs do, and that's why Josh Allen will probably never ascend into, what Patrick Mahomes did last year, which was absolutely insane. But I think as a 13th, 14th round quarterback, you can build your team up, give them an opportunity to really succeed, and then, by drafting running backs and wide receivers early, and then draft that quarterback late, like that gives you a huge advantage over a lot of guys who are drafting their tight ends and drafting their quarterbacks early. So Josh Allen is a perfect guy, breakout candidate for us. And then the final guy on our list is Aaron Jones. We have a lot of running backs on this list.
We do.
I absolutely love Aaron Jones. I think we both can absolutely love Aaron Jones.
Yes.
A lot of people really do. The concern for me is Matt LaFleur and his inability
you don't
to
love
utilize
Matt LaFleur and how he used Derrick Henry last year?
Yeah, for half the season. Three-quarters of the season, he absolutely freaking blew. And then this year, all of a sudden, yeah. So Aaron Jones, he has the potential. He has the ability. Last year, he had a 5-game stretch where he was basically a top 6, top 7 running back.
Yep.
He was very good. He gets 1 fantasy point per opportunity. And if he touches the ball 300 plus times, which is like 18 touches a game, if he touches the ball that much next year, he turns into a top 5 running back. I think he has if utilized properly, Aaron Jones has top 5 running back potential. And I think this year he can break out and do that. He has to stay healthy, obviously, and he needs to consistently get the ball every single time. I've talked about the equation: efficiency plus opportunity equals production.
Yep.
I don't remember if I said it earlier in this podcast, but I think Aaron Jones has all of the opportunity in the world to be a really good running back, or all of the not opportunity, but ability in the world to be a really good running back. You see it in his efficiency. It's just a matter of opportunity. It's a matter of, is LaFleur going to give this guy the football?
Yeah.
And if he doesn't succeed in doing that, you're just going to end up with a running back who is okay RB2 type player.
Yeah.
I mean, day one, LaFleur came in and said, "Oh, we have Jamal Williams, RBBC, let's go." So I hope that's not what it goes to. This is one of our more risky breakout picks. But I think that in the long run, if you draft this guy in the third, fourth, fifth round, and you end up getting this really good player, and he breaks out, like, your fantasy team is doing okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, and how many years have we talked about the Packers having like an elite running back and how it would complement Aaron Rodgers and all that?
Finally have it, just use it.
They have it now. It's just a matter of time.
And they'll
to
frick
use
it up.
They have the potential to be one of the best offenses in the league and run over teams.
Yeah.
And if Matt LaFleur uses the pieces right, and it's not just Aaron Jones, it's that whole offense, because there was a lot of talent on that offense, and even last year they struggled.
Yeah.
If he just learns how to use the pieces right, Aaron Jones and everybody involved in that offense will have a great season next year, and I'm willing to bet that they will.
Right.
It's tough for me because I love Aaron Jones so much, but I do have concerns.
He's an Aaron Jones truther.
I am, but
through and through, we both are.
I mean, last year, when I had him on my fantasy team, and you were saying,
and you sold him.
You shouldn't.
I was just hating on your team.
I'm glad you admit that.
If we're gonna be real, I think Aaron Jones is going to break out this year. Obviously, if everyone on this list breaks out,
we win $1 million.
Yeah, you should probably listen to us next year. But we think that Aaron Jones can be a breakout candidate. Looking at the numbers, looking at his ability, the only thing, like I said, every single one of these guys has a question mark.
Yep.
And is this guy going? And that's why they're going in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round.
Exactly.
Because of the question mark. For Kerryon Johnson, for example.
The Lions are dumb, and he's never
The
proven
Lions are dumb, and he's never proven he can be an RB1. But they also, the question is, is he going to get the opportunity in the red zone in the running game? Marlon Mack, is he going to get the opportunity in the passing game? Dante Pettis, can Jimmy Garoppolo stay on the field? Josh Allen, can he complete a pass within 10 yards? And I think for Aaron Jones, are they going to utilize him properly? And I think for every single one of these guys is something that is stopping them.
But
the upside is there that if they break through that wall, they're going to be really good.
The upside is worth the risk.
I added my man's Calvin Ridley to this list.
You did.
And he was I had him number 5 on my list, but you were like, nah, bruh. I was like, all right. So
you still could have put him on.
Yeah, that's true. So the reason why I have Calvin Ridley on my personal list really quickly is that I think Dirk Cutter is he came from the Tampa Bay, he was the head coach of the Tampa Bay Bucks, got fired, and then he took the job with the Atlanta Falcons. So he basically was the offensive coordinator a couple of years ago before he took the head coaching job with Tampa. And you saw how Tampa's offense was last year. 140 targets went to Mike Evans. 100 targets went to their second wide receiver. I believe it was Adam Humphries or Chris Godwin, one of the two. And so for me, I think that for Calvin Ridley, there's a real possibility that Julio Jones could get targeted 160 times this year and Calvin Ridley could get 120. And because he gets targeted so much in the red zone, that he might not even reach 1,000 yards. He may reach 1,000 yards receiving, but even if he doesn't, he gets 800, 900. He's still probably going to hit 10 touchdowns.
No, I mean, I really like Calvin Ridley as a player, and I love his ceiling. I just don't know, there's so much talent on that team. I think Sanu's going to get a lot of looks. I think Austin Hooper, I'm really high on.
There it is.
So I like Ridley, but I don't know.
I think Ridley is definitely the number 2 option.
He's someone to keep your eye out. I'll say.
He's if you're doing your check downs, he's going straight to Calvin Ridley. If you had to give their targets a rank, it'd be Julio obviously 1, Calvin Ridley 2. I would say Sanu 3, and then Hooper 4.
Probably. Yeah.
And they their running back situations. I mean, Devonta.
They are going to throw the ball.
Devonta Freeman might even be before Austin Hooper too, but. There's just a lot of targets there. Yeah. So the amount that Dirk Cutter throws the ball, whatever. But I think
they might throw the ball the most out of any team in the league this year.
I mean, they already threw it 600 times last year with Matt Ryan, but
yeah, can that number go up?
I know
honestly,
it might.
It might. Yeah,
it absolutely might. That'll do it for part 1 of Breakouts and Busts. Be sure to listen on Thursday as we discuss our busts in part 2. Of the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Got any closing thoughts for us, boss?
The fact that Mahomes isn't on this list with the addition of Tyreek Hill, I think it's dumb, dude. I don't know why Mahomes isn't on this list.
Don't forget to check out our website.
We have a website, don't we?
FantasyChampions.com. Talk to you Thursday, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.